What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. We got some big news brewing here on several different fronts. Take a look here. California Governor Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of the largest state in America, over 50 million Americans there, and also a potential presidential candidate in the future. I don't know about this time. He says he doesn't want to run against Biden, but we'll see. Newsom proposes a constitutional amendment to restrict access to guns. Note here that there are currently 27 amendments to the Constitution, beginning with the Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments ratified December 15th, 1791. Boy, does that seem ancient, right? 1791. There are 27 amendments. What California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing, yes, there's going to be obviously a lot of different thoughts on this depending on which way you lean. Here's the details on this. California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing an amendment to the Constitution to implement 4 gun control measures he says has wide support across the country. Newsom's office said in a Thursday release he is calling for enshrining 4 gun safety regulations into the Constitution, raising the minimum age to purchase firearms from 18 to 21 would be number 1. Let me know your thoughts on these in the comments. Implementing universal background checks, number 2. I personally think that's a really good one. Number 3, instituting a reasonable waiting period for gun purchases. I think that's a really good one. It prevents kind of rash decisions. A reasonable waiting period and background checks. I mean, is there anything wrong with that? And number 4, some people are going to have, different thoughts about this. Number 4, preventing civilians from buying, quote, assault weapons. But I mean, when you see someone walking down the street in your, residential area with an AK, it's kind of a different vibe, right? He said these proposals will respect the country's gun-owning tradition, protected by the Second Amendment, but creates common sense safety measures. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. Our ability to make a more perfect union is literally written into the Constitution, he said in his statement. So, quote, today I'm proposing the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution to do just that. The 28th Amendment will enshrine in the Constitution common sense safety measures that Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and gun owners overwhelmingly support, while leaving the Second Amendment unchanged and respecting America's gun-owning tradition.
Why a constitutional amendment and why now?
Well, why now is pretty self-evident that a lot of the laws we've passed are being rolled back by the federal courts.
To be clear, you're not calling for the abolition of the Second Amendment.
No, this is an existential crisis that we're experiencing every single day.
Saying he's fed up with Congress's inability to act, California Governor Gavin Newsom is proposing something never done before on gun control, having states work together to pass a U.S. constitutional amendment on guns that would implement 4 measures nationwide. Raise the minimum age for buying a firearm to 21, mandate universal background checks, require a reasonable waiting period for gun purchases, and ban the sale of assault rifles to civilians. To achieve this, he'll need 2/3 of states to propose the same amendment. That would trigger a constitutional convention, where 3/4 of states would have to vote yes for the amendment to pass. But more than half of these state legislatures are controlled by Republicans. So how is this possible? How is this going to happen?
That's possible because their constituency demands it.
In fact, a recent Fox News poll found most Americans are in favor of these measures.
There's not a parent out there, not one parent, you included, that doesn't think about these things when you send your kids to school.
You know very well what the critics are going to say about this. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. In the first month of the year, between Half Moon Bay and Monterey Park, 18 people were killed. That's what they're going to say. What do we need this 28th Amendment for?
And what California's gun death rate today is 73% lower than Texas. These federal judges want to turn America into Texas. We cannot let that happen.
The 19th Amendment to the Constitution that gave women the right to vote, it took 40 years or so. Do you think that the 28th Amendment, if it's passed, will it happen in your lifetime?
I hope so. If you don't start, it will never happen.
Again, guys, just to be really clear, to even get this amendment off the ground, California would need to be joined by 2/3 of the other states. Governor Newsom's first order of business is going to be shoring up support in ones with Republican-controlled legislatures. There is no question this is going to be a very uphill battle. Historically, there has never been a U.S. constitutional amendment proposed by states that have ever passed.
Yeah, and we go back here to this. This is from a Fox News poll. So this is a Republican-leaning poll. 87% of Americans favor criminal background checks. Again, and probably even the 13%, some of them were not, they checked unsure type of thing. Why would you not want to have a criminal background check when you go to purchase a firearm? 81% favor raising the legal age to 21. 77% favor a reasonable waiting period. Again, a small waiting period to go buy a firearm, as opposed to, yeah, you can just go buy it right now. Seems like a pretty good idea. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. 61% favor banning assault rifles. You can see the results here right now. This is from a Fox News poll. So this, wasn't like a CNN news poll or something along those lines. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I think these results speak for themselves. Of course, you're going to have some people that have completely different opinions. The people in the, 10 to 20% there of the opposite side. Some of these things seem like common sense, like the background checks and the waiting period. Even the legal age to me seems like a no-brainer. Of course, if you're in the 18-year-old age, yeah, I mean, it's gonna, maybe you're gonna be pretty teed off, but 3 years later, that time kind of goes by quickly. I remember when you were 18 and you're like, oh, I can't wait till I'm 21 when I can drink. And then you're 21 and it's kind of like, oh, it's over and done with, right? But when you actually look at a lot of these mass shootings, the vast majority of them, these guys, these killers actually bought them legally. They actually bought them legally. And of course, you're going to get some people to say, "Oh, well, you'll never be able to stop the criminals on the street who buy them illegally." And yes, that's true. But what you're talking about here is just cutting down on the number of incidences that happen. Okay? Because the reality of it is that when people can just go and walk into a store, plop down a couple $100 and buy them, it's pretty easy for a lot of people to do. It's that easy in some cases. Or you go into a gun show, plop down a couple $100 and you get it. In some of those cases, you don't even have to do a background check at certain type of gun shows. Okay? And there's certain type of trade shows. Okay? So this is where kind of some of the loopholes are and stuff like this. And again, you're never going to be able to cut down on all the incidences. And if you look at these proposals, they're pretty reasonable, common sense proposals. They're not talking about taking guns away from everybody here in the country. Remember, we actually have more guns in the country than we have people in the country. Okay, so just thinking about this like a realist. There's more guns in the country than there are people in the country. And there's more guns sold in the country every year than there are people born in the country. Okay, so just take this with a grain of salt here. They're not trying to take our guns away or anything along those lines. You just got to take this reasonably. Look at the proposed amendments. It just tries to cut down on the number of incidences that happen, keep our schools a little bit safer. I have a 5-year-old. I get it. Keep our streets a little bit safer. I think they're reasonable. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Again, I'm just a realist, just like to look at things reasonable. If you're, a senior on Social Security, Do you think these are reasonable things? If you're a person with children, do you think these are reasonable things? If you're not, if you're a gun owner, do you think these are reasonable? Do you think someone should have to get a background check? Do you think that a reasonable waiting period is reasonable? Or do you think no restrictions at all? Getting a driver's license should be, 100 times tougher than getting, a firearm. I mean, just let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But honestly, I think that this is going to be very tough to get past because of things like the NRA and the lobbyists that there is for this. I think getting any type of gun safety passed nowadays is going to be very, very difficult. And unfortunately, we're the only country in the world that has the amount of incidences that we have, percentage wise, compared to any other country. So, uh, can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on in our country on a daily basis. So, if you haven't yet, subscribe down below to our YouTube channel, click the bell icon, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here. Also, thanks for liking, and please share this video. And here's some videos you should watch next. Millions of Americans are under red alert. You can see here in this video, and your money might not be safe if you use PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or other services, or if you have anybody you know that uses these services. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.